For 12,000 years, the Veteran Dominion ruled the galaxy. Every star, every planet, every living thing belonged to them. At least, that is what they believed. The veterans were tall creatures with silver skin and 4 arms. Their eyes could see light that other species could not. They thought the universe had chosen them to rule all life. To them, other species were like animals. Some were useful. Some were pretty to look at. The rest were killed. Their emperor was called the Ascended One. He had lived for 800 years. In all that time, no one had ever said no to him. No one had ever fought back and won. The very idea of resistance had died long ago in the hearts of the galaxy's people. This is the story of how that changed. This is the story of a small ship, a tired captain, and the day the universe learned that humans do not kneel. Captain Una stood on the bridge of her ship. The horizon's edge. She was 34 years old. She had dark hair that she kept short and practical. Her eyes were tired but sharp. She had been born in Bizon, a city by the sea, to parents who caught fish for a living. She never wanted to be a soldier. She wanted to explore. She wanted to see what was out there among the stars. Now she was lost. The ship's experimental jump drive had failed. One moment they were in familiar space, testing new technology. The next moment, they were somewhere else. Somewhere very far away. The stars outside the windows were wrong. None of them matched the maps. Where are we? Una asked. Lieutenant Taiho checked his screens. He was her weapons officer, a calm man of 40 who rarely showed emotion. His fingers moved quickly over the controls. I do not know, Captain, he said. We are approximately 40,000 light years from Earth. Our drive is damaged. It will take weeks to repair. Una closed her eyes for a moment. 200 people on their ship. 200 people depending on her. And they were lost in unknown space with a broken engine. Find us a place to hide, she said. We need time to fix the drive. Before Taiho could respond, the alarm screamed. Contact, shouted Ensign Jiwoo from her station. She was the youngest officer on the ship, only 22. Her voice was high with fear. Multiple contacts. Big ones. They are coming fast. On the main screen, Una saw them. Ships. Massive ships, each one larger than anything humanity had ever built. They were shaped like curved blades, colored deep purple and gold. There were 6 of them, and they moved with terrible purpose. They are scanning us, Taiho said. A moment later, a voice came through the communication system. It was cold and strange, translated by the ship's computer into flat, emotionless words. Unknown vessel. You have entered Dominion space. You will surrender immediately. You will power down your weapons. You will prepare for biological cataloging. All species must be cataloged. All species must kneel before the Ascended One. Una felt something cold in her stomach. She looked around at her crew. She saw their faces. She saw the fear. But she also saw something else. She saw anger. Biological cataloging, Jiwoo whispered. They talk about us like we are animals. They want us to kneel, Taiho said. He turned to look at Una. Captain, what do we do? Una thought about her parents. She thought about the sea and the smell of salt in the morning. She thought about Earth, so far away that she might never see it again. She thought about all the people on her ship who trusted her. She had never wanted to be a soldier. But sometimes the universe does not care what you want. Open a channel, she said. Channel open, Captain. Una stood up straight. She looked at the screen, at those massive alien ships that could destroy her vessel in seconds. This is Captain Una of the Earth Coalition vessel Horizon's Edge. We are explorers. We mean you no harm. But we do not kneel. Not to anyone. If you want to talk, we will talk. If you want to trade, we will trade. But if you try to put us in chains, you will learn that humans do not go quietly." There was silence. Long, terrible silence. Then the alien voice returned. This time, it sounded almost confused. "You refuse? No species refuses. You will be taught your place." The first veteran ship fired. Yuna had 1 second to react. Taiho, full power to shields. Jiwoo, evasive pattern. Everyone, hold on. The horizon's edge was small and fast. It was built for exploration, not war. But humans had been fighting each other for thousands of years. They knew how to survive. The ship twisted and dove. The alien weapon missed, burning through empty space. Taiho returned fire with everything they had. Human weapons were primitive compared to veteran technology. But they were also unexpected that the veterans had energy shields that could stop other energy weapons. They had never seen projectile weapons before. Metal slugs, fired at incredible speed, punched through their shields like they were not there. One veteran ship lost its engine. Another lost its weapons array. "Move!" Yuna shouted. "Get us into that asteroid field." The horizon's edge ran. Behind them, the veterans screamed orders at each other. They were confused. They were angry. A tiny ship from an unknown species had hurt them. This was not supposed to happen. This had never happened before. In the asteroid field, Yuna allowed herself one small breath. They were alive. They were still free. "Captain," Taiho said softly, "what do we do now?" Yuna looked at her crew. They were scared. They were far from home. But they were not broken. "Now," she said, "we find out what kind of galaxy we have fallen into. And we find a way home." She did not know it yet, but she had just fired the first shot in a war that would change everything. The veteran Dominion had ruled for 12,000 years. Their time was ending. The news spread through the veteran Dominion like fire. A small ship from an unknown species had fought back. It had damaged 2 patrol vessels and escaped. This had not happened in 3,000 years. High Commander Valeth received the report in his chambers on the fortress world of Keth Prime. He was old, even for a veteran. He had served the Dominion for 400 years. He had crushed rebellions on 30 different worlds. He had never failed. "Show me," he said to his aide. The recording played. He watched the tiny human ship dance between the larger veteran vessels. He watched it fire primitive metal projectiles that somehow passed through energy shields. He watched it escape. "Interesting," Velis said. He was not worried. He was curious. "Find them. I will handle this personally." Far away, in the asteroid field, Captain Yuna faced a difficult choice. The horizon's edge was damaged. They needed parts. They needed fuel. Their sensors had found a small moon nearby with signs of mining activity. It might have what they needed. "We should be careful," said Chief Engineer Do-hyun. He was a quiet man who spoke only when necessary. "We do not know who is down there." "We do not have a choice," Yuna replied. "Without repairs, we cannot run the jump drive. Without the jump drive, we cannot go home." They approached the moon slowly, hiding their ship behind rocks and debris. What they found made Yuna's blood turn cold. It was a mining camp. But the miners were not veterans. They were other species, dozens of different kinds, all working under the hot lights of the processing facility. And they were chained. "Slaves," whispered Ensign Jiwoo. Her young face was pale. "They are using slaves." Yuna watched the screen. She saw creatures with blue skin and too many eyes. She saw small furry beings that moved on 4 legs. She saw tall, thin people with no hair and sad faces. All of them wore metal collars. All of them worked until they dropped. When one fell, guards in veteran armor kicked them until they got up or did not move again. There must be 6,000 of them, Taiho said quietly. At least, Yuna agreed. Yuna closed her eyes. They were lost. They were damaged. They were running from an empire that wanted to put them in chains. The smart thing to do was to sneak in, take what they needed, and leave. We cannot help them, Taiho said, reading her thoughts. We are 200 people. We barely survived one fight. I know, Yuna said. If we try to free them, we will die. And then no one will warn Earth about what is out here. I know. Jiwoo spoke up. Her voice was small but steady. Captain, my grandmother was a slave. Not here, but on Earth, a long time ago. She told me stories about what it was like. She told me that the worst part was not the pain. It was feeling like no one cared. Like the universe had forgotten you existed. Yuna opened her eyes. Those people down there, Jiwoo continued. They think no one is coming. They think no one cares. What if we showed them they were wrong? We would probably die, Taiho said. We might, Jiwoo agreed. But at least we would die for something that matters. The bridge was silent. Yuna looked at her crew. She saw Taiho, the careful soldier. She saw Dayan, the practical engineer. She saw Jiwoo, the young woman who still believed the universe could be better. She saw herself, the girl from Bizan who never wanted to fight. Grandmother Sunhee, Yuna called over the intercom. Report to the bridge. The ship's medical officer arrived a few minutes later. She was 67 years old, with gray hair and calm eyes. She had been a combat medic in 3 wars on Earth. She had seen terrible things and kept going. What is it, Captain? Yuna showed her the mining camp on the screen. She explained the situation. She asked for her opinion. Sunhee watched the slaves working. She watched one fall and not get up. She watched the veteran guards laugh. There's a saying, Sunhee said slowly. The measure of a person is not what they do when it is easy. It is what they do when it is hard. She looked at Yuna. If we leave those people to suffer, we save ourselves. But we lose something important. We lose who we are. Yuna nodded. She had already made her decision. She just needed to hear someone else say it. All hands, she announced. Prepare for ground assault. We are going to free those people. The raid on Outpost 17 happened at night, when the guards were tired and lazy. Yuna led one team. Taiho led another. They moved through the camp like shadows. The veterans had never seen human weapons up close. They did not know about grenades. They did not know about rifles that fired hundreds of rounds per minute. They did not know about something the humans called fire. When the fuel storage caught flame, it lit up the night like a new sun. In the chaos, the slaves began to realize what was happening. The chains were being cut. The guards were falling. Someone had come to save them. Jiwoo found a group of children hiding in a storage building. They were small blue creatures with big eyes full of fear. It is okay, she told them gently, even though they could not understand her words. You are safe now. We are going to take you away from here. One of the children reached out and touched her hand. Its skin was cool and smooth. It made a soft sound that might have been thank you. By morning, the camp was empty. 6,000 slaves were free. The veteran guards were dead or captured. The Horizon's Edge was damaged further, but its crew was alive. More importantly, something had changed in the galaxy. For 12,000 years, no one had fought the Dominion and won. Now someone had. And the slaves they freed would tell others. And those others would tell more. High Commander Valeth received the report 3 days later. He read it twice. Then he read it again. Interesting, he said once more. But this time, he was not curious. He was worried. The veteran Dominion controlled everything. They controlled planets. They controlled ships. They controlled people. But most importantly, they controlled information. For 12,000 years, they had decided what the galaxy knew. Stories of rebellion were erased. Heroes were forgotten. The message was always the same. The Dominion is forever. Resistance is useless. Obey or die. Dr. Minji was about to change that. She was the Horizon's Edge's language expert. She had spent her whole life studying how people talk to each other, how ideas move from one mind to another. She was small and quiet, with glasses that she was always pushing up her nose. Most people did not notice her, but Minji noticed everything. "Captain," she said to Yuna 1 week after the raid on Outpost 17. "I have been studying the communication systems we captured from the mining camp. What did you find?" Minji smiled. It was a small smile, but dangerous. The Dominion uses relay stations to send messages across the galaxy. Thousands of them. I think I can use them. Yuna leaned forward. Use them how? To tell the truth. The plan was simple. The Dominion sent lies. Minji would send facts. She would broadcast recordings of the raid. She would show images of freed slaves. She would share Yuna's words. "You are not alone. They will try to stop us," Taiho warned. "Once we start broadcasting, they will hunt us even harder." "They are already hunting us," Yuna replied. "At least this way, our deaths might mean something." The first broadcast went out 3 days later. It reached a water world called the Sara, home to the Keth, a species that had been slaves for 300 years. The Keth were beautiful creatures, like the mermaids from old Earth stories, with scales that changed color with their emotions. A young Keth named Syrah heard the broadcast in the underwater mines where she worked. She heard a strange voice speaking words she did not understand at first. Then the translation came through. "This is Captain Yuna of Earth. I am speaking to all who suffer under the Dominion. You are not alone. We fought them and we won. They can be beaten. Do not lose hope. We are coming." Syrah's scales turned bright gold. That was the color of hope. On the forge moon of Draxel, the Govani workers heard the same message. The Govani were big and strong, with 4 arms like the veterans, but darker skin and kinder eyes. They had been used as factory labor for generations. They made weapons that were used to enslave other species. An old Govani named Brock watched the recording of the raid. He saw humans, small and soft-looking, fighting veteran soldiers. He saw them winning. He saw slaves being freed. "Brothers," he said to the workers around him, "did you see? Someone fought back. Someone won. It changes nothing," another Govani said. "We are still slaves." "No," Brock replied. His eyes were bright. "It changes everything, because now we know it is possible." On the prison planet of Year 7, political prisoners from 100 species heard Minji's broadcasts. These were the thinkers, the dreamers, the ones who had dared to speak against the Dominion. They had been left to die in the dark. Now they had light. High Commander Valith tracked the Horizon's Edge across 3 star systems. Every time he got close, they slipped away. They were fast and clever, these humans. They used asteroids and dust clouds to hide. They jumped through unstable regions of space that veteran ships could not follow. And all the while, they kept broadcasting. "We have to stop them," Valith told the Ascended One through secure communication. "Their words are spreading. I am receiving reports of unrest on 17 worlds." The Ascended One was silent for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was like ice. "Then do your job, Commander. Find them. Kill them. Make an example." Valith gathered 50 warships. 50 of the Dominion's finest vessels, crewed by veteran soldiers who had never known defeat. He tracked the humans to a dead moon at the edge of a dying star. "There is nowhere left to run," he broadcast to the Horizon's Edge. "Surrender now, and I will make your deaths quick." Continue to resist, and I will make them slow. On the bridge of her ship, Yuna looked at her crew. They were tired. The ship was barely holding together. They had been running for months. Any ideas? She asked. Doyun checked his screens. His face was pale. Engine power is at 30%. Weapons are almost empty. We cannot fight 50 ships. We cannot run either, Taiho added. They have us surrounded. Yuna closed her eyes. She thought about her parents. She thought about the sea. She thought about all the broadcasts they had sent, all the hope they had tried to spread. Had it been enough? Had anyone listened? Captain, Jiwoo said suddenly. Her voice was strange. You should see this. The tactical display was lighting up. Not with enemy ships. With something else. Ships were appearing all around them, jumping in from different directions. Small ships. Old ships. Mining vessels and cargo haulers and passenger transports. Hundreds of them. Who are they? Yuna whispered. The communication system crackled. A voice came through, translated by the computer. It was a Keth voice, musical and flowing like water. Captain Yuna, we heard your message. We believed. We are here to fight. Another voice joined. This one was deep and rough. Gurvani, you gave us hope. Now we give you our strength. More voices. More ships. They kept coming, jumping in from all corners of the galaxy. Slaves who had escaped. Workers who had stolen vessels. Soldiers who had refused to serve tyrants anymore. Doyun looked at his display with wonder. Captain, I am counting over 300 ships. Yuna felt tears on her cheeks. She did not wipe them away. Commander Valeth, she broadcast. I think you should run. For the first time in 400 years, High Commander Valeth faced something he did not know how to fight. An idea. The battle was short and fierce. The Dominion ships were stronger, but they were outnumbered. And they were fighting people who had nothing left to lose. When it was over, Valeth's fleet was broken. Half his ships were destroyed. The other half retreated in disorder. On the bridge of the horizon's edge, the crew was celebrating. But Yuna stood apart, looking at the stars. Minji joined her. What are you thinking, Captain? I am thinking, Yuna said slowly, that we started something today. Something bigger than us. Something that cannot be stopped. She was right. The revolution had begun. They came from every corner of the galaxy. The Keth from their water worlds. The Gorvani from their forge moons. The thin pale people from the ice planets. The small furry creatures from the jungle worlds. Dozens of species, hundreds of worlds, thousands of ships. They called themselves the Coalition of the Forgotten. Every species the Dominion had dismissed, enslaved, or tried to destroy. Every people who had been told they were nothing, and they wanted a human to lead them. The meeting was held on a hidden, stationed deep in an asteroid field. Representatives from 18 species gathered in a great hall. They came in different shapes and sizes. Some breathed air, some breathed water, some breathed gases that would kill humans in seconds. Special chambers had been built so everyone could survive. Captain Yuna stood before them all. She felt very small. You are the one who started this, said the Keth representative, a female named Tira, whose scales shimmered blue and green. You are the one who gave us hope. You should lead us. I am a ship captain, Yuna said. I have 200 people under my command. You are talking about millions, billions. I am not qualified. None of us are qualified, rumbled Brock, the old Gorvani who had escaped from the Forge Moon. None of us have ever fought a war like this. But you showed us it was possible. That matters more than experience. Yuna shook her head. I was just trying to survive. I was just trying to get my people home. And in doing so, you changed the galaxy, said another voice. It was thin and cold, coming from a creature that looked like living crystal. "Captain, we do not need a perfect leader. We need someone who believes we can win. You are that person." The room was silent. Every eye, every sensor, every form of perception was focused on Yuna. She thought about saying no. She thought about taking her ship and running, finding a way back to Earth, leaving this war behind. Then she thought about the children Jiwoo had found in the mining camp. She thought about their big eyes and their fear. She thought about all the children across the galaxy who were still slaves. "Captain," said a familiar voice. Grandmother Sunhee had come to the meeting. She walked slowly through the crowd until she stood beside Yuna. "May I speak?" Yuna nodded. Sunhee looked at the gathered representatives. Her gray hair and lined face seemed out of place among the alien beings. But her voice was strong. "On Earth, we have a long history of fighting for freedom. It is not pretty. It is not glorious. People die. Innocents suffer. Sometimes we lose." She paused. "But we keep fighting, not because we are sure we will win, because giving up is worse than dying." She turned to Yuna. "These people do not need a general. They need someone who will not give up. Someone who will stand with them when things are darkest. Someone who will remind them why they started fighting in the first place." Sunhee smiled. "That is you, Yuna. It has always been you." Yuna felt the weight of those words. She looked at the faces around her. Alien faces. Strange faces. But in all of them, she saw the same thing she saw in her own crew. Hope. "All right," she said quietly. "I will lead. But we do this together. Every species has a voice. Every life matters. We are not building a new empire. We are tearing down the old one." The Coalition's first major attack was against the Vethran slave-breeding facilities on the moon of Veka. This was where the Dominion created new slaves, growing them in tanks-like products, programming them for obedience before they could even think. Commander Hyunwoo led the assault. He had been a cargo pilot before the war, a simple man who moved goods between space stations. He had never fired a weapon in combat. But he had watched his friends die in the mining camp raid, and something had changed in him. He discovered he understood war. He could see patterns that others missed. He knew where the enemy would be weak. "We hit them at dawn," he told his troops. It was a mixed force. Humans, Keth, Garvani, and others. The morning shift change is their most vulnerable moment. We go in fast and hard. Free the captives. Destroy the tanks. Leave nothing behind. "And the veteran soldiers?" asked the young Keth warrior. Hyunwoo was quiet for a moment. "We give them one chance to surrender. If they refuse, they die. We are not here for revenge. We are here for freedom. But we will not hesitate to fight for it." The Battle of Vekar was brutal. The Dominion had never expected an attack on such an important facility. They had grown comfortable in their power. They had forgotten what it felt like to be afraid. Now they remembered. Human soldiers fought beside Govani warriors. Keth swimmers attacked through the underwater tunnels. The crystal beings used their natural abilities to disrupt Vethran communications. Every species brought something unique to the fight, and they won. 10,000 slaves were freed that day. The breeding tanks were destroyed. The message was clear. Nowhere was safe for the Dominion anymore. Far away, on the throne world of Vethra Prime, the Ascended One received the news. His four hands gripped his throne until the metal bent. "How?" he demanded. "How are they doing this?" His advisors had no answer. They did not understand. The Dominion had always won through superior strength. They had bigger ships, better weapons, more soldiers. But the Coalition was not fighting with strength alone. They were fighting with something the Vethrans had never faced before. Unity. Different species. Different peoples. working together for a common goal. We must end this, the Ascended One declared. We must cut out the source of this infection. The source, my lord? The humans. The Ascended One's eyes burned with cold fire. They started this. If we destroy their homeworld, the others will lose heart. The rebellion will collapse. One of his admirals stepped forward. My lord, we know very little about their planet. It is on the far edge of the galaxy. Our maps show it as empty space. Then, we send a fleet large enough to destroy anything we find. 5,000 ships. Our greatest force. We will burn their world to ash and make the galaxy remember what happens to those who defy us. The order was given. The largest veteran fleet in history began to assemble. 5,000 warships, carrying millions of soldiers. Armed with weapons that could crack planets, they set course for a small blue world called Earth. On the Coalition command ship, Yuna received intelligence about the fleet movement. She read the report twice, then looked at Minji. They are going to attack Earth, she said. Her voice was steady, but her hands were shaking. Can we warn them? Minji asked. We can try, but even with our fastest ships, the warning might not arrive in time. Yuna stood up. She walked to the window and looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, so far away, was her home. Her parents. Everyone she had grown up with. Then we have to stop them, she said. We take every ship we have, and we follow that fleet. We fight them at Earth. Yuna, son, he said gently. Even with all our ships, we are outnumbered 3-1. I know. We might all die. I know. Yuna turned to face her friend. But if we do not try, Earth dies anyway. And I will not let that happen. Not while I am still breathing. She opened a channel to the entire Coalition fleet. All ships, this is Captain Yuna. The Dominion is sending 5,000 ships to destroy humanity's homeworld. I am going to stop them. I am not ordering anyone to follow. This is a choice. If you want to stay behind, I understand. But if you believe in what we are fighting for, if you believe that every people deserves to be free, then follow me. Let us show the galaxy what the Forgotten can do. Every ship followed. The race to save Earth had begun. The veteran fleet arrived at Earth on a bright summer morning. 5,000 ships darkened the sky like a second night. From the ground, people looked up and saw death coming, but they did not run dot in the months since the horizon's edge had disappeared. Earth had changed. The scattered nations of humanity had received Yuna's warning just in time. For the first time in history, they united completely. Not out of hope. Out of pure, stubborn refusal to die quietly, Admiral Junho commanded Earth's defense. He was 71 years old, a thin man with gray hair and calm eyes. He had spent his career keeping peace between nations. Now he would fight the greatest battle in human history. His fleet was small. 250 ships against 5,000. The math was simple and terrible. All ships. This is Admiral Junho. His voice was steady. Not brave, just steady. The voice of a man who had accepted what was coming. I will not lie to you. We are outnumbered. Many of us will die today. But every minute we hold is another minute for our people on the ground. Every ship we destroy is one less to burn our cities. He paused. On the screens around him, he could see the faces of his captains. Young and old. Men and women. All of them afraid. All of them staying anyway. Remember what we are protecting, he continued. Not just our planet. The idea that every being has the right to be free. The idea that people matter. Today, we show the universe what humanity is made of. The veteran commander sent a message before the battle began. Surrender now, and some of you may be allowed to live as slaves. Resist and we will kill every human on this planet, down to the last child. Junho's reply was simple. Come and try. The first day of the battle was the worst. Human ships died by the dozens. Energy beings cut through steel and flesh. Explosions lit up space like deadly flowers. The veterans pushed forward, confident in their power. But the humans did not break. For every ship that fell, another moved to fill the gap. They used tactics the veterans had never seen. Suicide runs where pilots crashed their ships into enemy engines. Asteroid redirects that turned rocks into weapons. Communications jamming that left veteran commanders screaming orders to no one on the ground. The people of Earth fought 2.EUM by was 17 years old. A student from Seoul who had never done anything more dangerous than fail a math test. When the invasion began, she organized a network of amateur radio operators across the world. They jammed veteran communications at critical moments. They helped coordinate ground resistance. They proved that you did not need a uniform to fight for your home. Grandpa Sangho was 82. He had been a fisherman all his life, like Yuna's parents. When the call came for civilian volunteers, he took his old cargo boat and flew it into space. The boat had no weapons. It had no shields. But it had an engine, and engines could explode. On the third day of the battle, Sangho crashed his boat into a veteran carrier's fuel storage. The explosion destroyed the carrier and 2 ships nearby. His last words, transmitted to his family, were, "Tell my grandson I was brave." The battle lasted 9 days. 9 days of fire and death. 9 days of humans refusing to surrender. The veteran fleet pushed closer to Earth, but every kilometer cost them ships. Every hour cost them soldiers. The Ascended One watched from far away, growing more furious with each report. These humans were supposed to be weak. They were supposed to break. Why would they not break? On the 9th day, Admiral Junho's flagship was dying. Half his fleet was gone. The other half was damaged and exhausted. The veterans were about to break through. Then the sensors screamed. Ships, hundreds of ships, jumping in from across the galaxy. They were not veteran. They were something else. Mining vessels and cargo haulers. Stolen warships and improvised fighters. Ships crewed by Keth and Gorvani, and a dozen other species. At their head was a small explorer vessel, scarred and patched but still flying. The horizon's edge. Yuna's voice came through every communication system on Earth. You came to end us. Instead, you united us. Every species you enslaved is here. Every world you conquered sent ships. You taught the galaxy to fear. We taught them something else. We taught them hope. And hope is stronger than fear. The coalition fleet hit the veterans from behind. Fresh ships against tired ones. Soldiers fighting for freedom against soldiers fighting for an emperor who had never known their names. The veteran fleet broke. It did not happen all at once. First one ship ran, then another, then 10, then 100. The Great Dominion Navy, undefeated for 12,000 years, scattered like leaves in a storm. The Ascended One tried to rally them. He screamed orders. He threatened death. But his soldiers had finally understood something. The humans and their allies were not fighting because they thought they would win. They were fighting because they believed some things were worth dying for. That kind of enemy could not be beaten by fear. The Ascended One was captured 3 days later, found hiding in an escape pod by a Gorvani patrol ship. He was brought before Yuna in chains, the most powerful being in the galaxy, brought low by a ship captain from a fishing village. Kill me, he demanded. Make it quick. Yuna looked at him for a long time. She saw an old creature, tired and afraid. She saw 12,000 years of cruelty in his eyes. She saw everything he had done, all the suffering he had caused. No, she said. We are not like you. You will live. You will watch as we tear down everything you built. You will see the species you enslaved become free. That is your punishment. The war was over. 1 year later, the Galactic Assembly met for the first time. Representatives from every freed species gathered to build something new. Not an empire. A community. A place where all peoples had a voice. They built a statue in the central hall. A human woman in a captain's uniform, looking up at the stars. Not a conqueror. Not a queen. Just someone who refused to give up. Yuna did not attend the ceremony. She was already gone, back to Bizan, to the house by the sea where she had grown up. Her parents were old now, but alive. They had survived the war. They cried when they saw her. A young historian found her there years later. Yuna was old herself by then, her hair gray, her face lined. But her eyes were still sharp. "Captain Yuna," the historian said, "everyone wants to know. How did you do it? How did humanity, a species no one had ever heard of, defeat the greatest empire in history?" Yuna was quiet for a long moment. She watched the waves roll in, the same waves she had watched as a child. "We did not defeat them because we were stronger," she said finally. "We defeated them because they forgot something important." "What was that?" Yuna smiled. It was a small smile, a tired smile, but real. They forgot that the universe does not belong to those who conquer it. It belongs to those brave enough to stand together. They had power. We had each other. She turned back to the sea. That made all the difference. Far above, in the sky she had helped save, the stars shone bright. And in every corner of the galaxy, people told stories. Stories of a small ship that got lost. Stories of a captain who refused to kneel. Stories of humans who taught the universe that hope is stronger than fear. The Dominion was forgotten. The stories lived forever.